All right, you have arrived at the start of another episode of the Rocker Dog Podcast, the show that talks to musicians about their dogs and the value they bring to our lives. I'm your host, Tim Dill. The barking dog I try my best to edit out is my dog, Charlie, and together we are excited to bring you our great talk with Cody Hanson, drummer, songwriter, and producer for the multi-platinum rockers Hinder, who have a brand new full-length album out this week on May 23rd called Back to Life. And these are his rescued from the street rocker dogs.
Today we are going to talk about Dempsey and Bonneville.
So I always like to hear the origin stories of how the dogs found you. So I know just before we started recording, Bonneville is like brand new. Like I said, I've been doing my research. You know, he has yet to make the Instagram feed. So let's start with Bonneville. How'd you find him, or did he find you?
Yeah, so I do we keep our bus out at my parents' house, and we went out there one day and there was just this giant white beautiful dog just hanging out on my parents' front porch. So he kind of, while we were looking for his owners, he kind of just hung around out there for a while. And I couldn't handle him being out there by himself all the time. You know, we would go out there to feed him when my parents would go to the lake or whatever. And when we'd pull up, he'd be so happy, he'd start crying, and we just couldn't handle it anymore. So we ended up bringing him home. Like I said, he's a white Swiss Shepherd. So he's this giant white dog that leaves white fur all over the house. And in my studio here, I've got black carpet. So
I can see that.
That's it takes some work to keep up with, but he's here. We love him. So yeah, that's Bonneville.
How did he get his name?
We just couldn't find a name, and he's I don't know, he's like a little gentleman, right? He's just such a, I don't know, we say he's got twinkle toes because he walks like this. And we were looking for a name, and actually our front of house guy had thought it was really funny to name a dog Pontiac Bonneville, like the car, you know. Yeah. Everybody knows that big boat of a car.
Yeah.
So I thought it was kind of fitting. We thought it just sounded like him, and he wears a little bow tie around, and he's all proper. So that's what we were. Yeah.
And he's fast friends with the cat, it looked like, just behind you.
Yeah, he's friends with everybody. He's like the most gentle, goofy dog ever. He loves the cat. He loves our other dog, our oldest dog, Dempsey. And he's the most social dog I think I've ever met.
That's great. Have you taken him to the vet yet? I mean, do they have any idea, like, an age?
Yeah, they think he's about between 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah, we took him in as soon as we found him. We had to go get his chip scanned, and unfortunately, the people that owned him before, they didn't want him back. Yeah.
Did they not respond, or did
they
they
didn't respond, and then finally they would just silence the calls from the vet.
Right.
So
right.
It's one of those deals. Yeah.
Jeez. And how about Dempsey? How old is Dempsey?
Dempsey is about 8 now, and she's a boxer mix with we think Boston Terrier. So we call her a Boston Terrier.
All right, that's an interesting. I'm sure she has an interesting personality.
Oh, she's hilarious. I mean, we found her on the side of the road as well on our way to Starbucks one day. We take the same route every day, and she's just little skin and bones. She was you could tell she'd been on her own for a little while, and I mean, you could see every rib, you know, in a rib cage. And so we pulled over and gave her some food, and immediately she just snuggled up to my wife, like as a thank you, you know. And so we brought her home, and within 10 minutes we knew she was never leaving. So she's scared of everything. So everybody that comes into the house, she won't stop barking until they leave. But with us, she's the funniest, most cuddly dog that I've ever seen. She's awesome.
Yeah, you've got the pictures to prove that. I mean, one of the notes I have is the dogs really like to be on you. I personally, I love that. I love that trait in a dog. That's
me too.
That's what I like. You know, I had a cat when I was younger, and it just was so aloof. But the dog, I like the dogs to mix it up and be with me, if not on me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we unfortunately lost a little dog I think it was about a year ago, and that was her thing. She liked to lay right on top of my face, and I thought that was the sweetest thing ever. I loved it.
You must be talking about Gracie Lou.
Yeah, Gracie Lou. Yeah, she
Now, was
was.
she a Chihuahua?
Yeah, she's a little Chihuahua Terrier mix, I think.
Okay.
She was one of the cutest dogs I've ever met in my life. She was so adorable.
Well, speaking of your wife, I went to her Instagram as well to kind of dig up some stuff, and she mentioned with Dempsey that her quote was, "This little clown came into our lives with perfect timing." Was there a timing issue? Was something going on in, 8 years ago that, Dempsey kind of came in at the right time?
Yeah, we at that time we had just lost our first dog that we got as a couple, I
Right.
guess. He was our little boy named Wayne,
Okay.
and he was like a lab, little bit of pit bull in him, but mostly a lab.
Hmm.
And he was cool, man. He was one of the smartest dogs ever. So yeah, when we lost him, it was pretty devastating to us. And she came in, a few months to the day after he passed.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good timing.
Yeah.
When you lose a dog, if you're like us, and 'cause we don't have kids, so
Hmm.
our dogs are our children to us.
Yeah.
So when we lost him, it was devastating. Hey, why don't you not do that, buddy?
But just the fact too that Dempsey showed up in your lives too, it just seems, like the universe at work.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and especially like when you're at a low point and you find another soul that is just so perfect that kind of heals you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can. I don't know. You can't really explain that. So it seemed like, I mean, kind of not to be cheesy, but almost like divine intervention or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, where was your love of animals? Where was the foundation? Like, did you grow up with dogs as a kid?
Yeah, we had animals as a kid, or when I was growing up, but I don't know. It just seemed like the time was different. My parents then wouldn't let any of them really live in the house, or
Yeah. Yeah.
it was just a different time. I
Yeah.
mean, since then, I mean, they have the most spoiled dogs ever, so they've definitely changed their tune on that one. But yeah, man, growing up, I don't know. I just for some reason I just always loved animals, and if an animal was hurt, it was something that I just couldn't handle, and it never left me. I had cats growing up, and then I had a stray dog wander up when I was pretty young, and I named her Collie, and she was just this big Collie German Shepherd mix, massive dog, and she was the sweetest thing. And I had her until I was in college. I have
Okay.
no idea how old she was when she passed away, but she must have been pushing 20.
Yeah.
She was old. So yeah, it's just always been a passion of mine. I've always loved animals.
Yeah. Do any of these dogs speak to you as like a soul dog? Like, do you look back on Collie and be like, that was the dog?
Honestly, all of them.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
fair.
I mean, I've been blessed with really, really great animals.
Yeah.
So yeah, and they all are so different, right? They all just have such different personalities and brought such a unique energy into the house.
Yeah.
So
Well, I always like to see if there's any intersection between your life as a musician and the dogs. And just recently you posted that this is what touring should always be like, pretty girls in hotel rooms. And it was you and Dempsey on a bed. And I'm curious, have they ever toured with you or been to a gig?
no, they've been to shows. Yeah,
Okay.
every time my wife comes out to visit, she always brings the dogs with her. You know, um, I can talk to her on the phone. We can FaceTime, right? But I can't talk to the dogs while I'm gone. So
Yeah.
she always does me a favor and brings them out to visit, and that I mean that's a big deal to me. Being out on the road is hard, being away from friends and family, and they are my family. So to get to see them while we're out, that it like rejuvenates me for
Yeah.
sure.
No, I
Yeah.
bet. Well, speaking of gigs, I did see a post when you were doing the side project Dangerous Hippie live at the Vine. Bernice was at your feet it looked like during the performance.
Yeah, yeah.
Are they present for a lot of the times you're developing your music or writing music?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they get to run around and do whatever they want. They own the place. So yeah, we do all our recording, writing, most of the writing and recording here. So yeah, they're always around. And if we, do rehearsals or I'm programming, lights for our live performance or whatever it may be, they're right there. I try not to go too far away from them when I'm home.
Yeah, that's great. It's funny, I saw, back to your wife's feed, I saw a great shot. I think it was, we haven't spoken of Bernice, bathed in lights, and the caption was that you were programming lights for the show.
Mhm.
I thought
Yeah.
I thought that was very cool that the dog, I mean, that these dogs are ever present to, your creative endeavors.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean they make me smile. They keep all the stress away. I guess whenever I'm doing work for the band. I mean, I do a lot of different things, and I get pretty stressed out doing it. To be honest, I'm having to learn things, new things all the time.
Hmm.
You got to keep up with technology, and that's kind of can be frustrating.
Right.
So, having them around keeps me calm and smiling.
That's great. Are your fans aware of the dogs? Like, do you get, do the dogs have their own groupies?
No, I don't think so anymore. When Wayne was around, when Wayne and Bernice were around, they'd come out and wear Hinder shirts and do the thing. Wayne, he had a Hinder crew shirt, so
Oh, great.
it kind of matched the rest of the crew. So when he came out, that was always a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Now, another post you had back in 2018 says, "These two girls own me." And I think, again, this must have been, it might have been Bernice and Gracie Lou.
Yeah.
But it made me think, do they always get what they want? Are these spoiled dogs?
100%. 100%. I don't know that I've ever met more spoiled dogs than mine. Yeah, they pretty much do whatever they want. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
Have you bestowed any indulgences on them in terms of spending a lot of money, like a big dog bed or something extravagant?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, I mean they've constantly got new giant beds everywhere, and when we go to Starbucks, the person at the window remembers they get Starbucks, or they, we share the. As a matter of fact, I wake up every morning and I make myself cottage cheese toast, which is kind of weird, I know, and so they always get cottage cheese in the mornings, and then for lunch they get their regular food with like that, the farmer's dog, it's like
Yep.
real cooked
Oh,
food.
yeah,
So get
for
that
sure.
as a topper, you know what I mean? If they don't have that, they're turning their nose up at it. They're not going to eat it, right? So yeah, they get spoiled for sure.
Okay. And originally I was going to ask, it seemed like your last three dogs, besides Bonneville, were female.
Hmm.
But like you said, you don't seek out the dogs seem to find you. I was going to ask, do you see, besides the obvious, what do you see the difference between male and females?
It's kind of hard to say because all of my dogs have been so different. Bernice was the second dog that we had ever had, and she was Wayne's daughter before we got him fixed. We were young and
Okay.
poor when we got him, right? So it took a minute to get the money to be
Get him
able to get
fixed.
him fixed. So he snuck next door, and so we got Bernice, and then she was just like this old grumpy lady. Even when she was young, she would always just come up with this like scowl on her face. If she wanted something, she would stomp her foot and yell at you, like just let you know, hey, I want something and I want it now, you know. And other than that, she loved to be loved on, but she liked to be by herself. She liked her space. But with Dempsey and with Gracie, they just want to be right on top of you. So
Yeah.
Bonneville's kind of a mixture of both. He's just learning the cuddling thing. I don't think he got wherever he came from. I don't think he got cuddled a lot. So
Yeah.
he's just learning about it, but he's loving it.
That's
So
great.
yeah.
That's great. It's funny that as you talk, every so often there's a thing of hair
Oh,
drifting through the drifting through
it's
the air.
well. I mean, so my wife and I both have curly hair too. So like between the two of us shedding and this cat and Bonneville, I mean, I get up in the morning. First thing I do when I get up, I go upstairs and I sweep. And then a couple hours later, I sweep again. And then I'm just going around constantly just picking up hair. So I mean, the amount of hair in this house is insane. We thought about just starting a clothing line woven out of all the hair that we pick up off our floor.
Well, speaking of which, I had to know Big Dog Energy Clothing.
Yeah.
Are you still doing that?
We are. I mean, we kind of took a break. It's hard to get people to care, right? So
Yeah.
it really hasn't taken off the way that we had hoped it would.
Mhm.
The whole goal was to be able to, to donate back to some shelters and make it a whole thing where we could eventually, donate everything to animals. That was kind of the goal behind it. But it never did really take off. So that's something that once I find some time, I think we're going to do a rebrand and try it again. But when you're in the middle of an album cycle,
Yeah, I
it's
can
really
imagine.
hard to find the time to do anything.
For sure. Well, I wrap up every show with what I call the Zoomies, and that's five fast, frivolous questions. The
Awesome.
first is, do you allow all these dogs to lick your face?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
of course I do.
that's good. Question two, let's use Dempsey since he's been around. What would his theme song be?
Yeah, she does have I know it's kind of a weird name for a girl, but
I knew I was going to call him a he. Sorry,
everybody
Dempsey.
does.
Dempsey, she.
Yeah, everybody does. Don't worry about it. She does have a song that she gets it sang to her every time she gets a meal.
Nice.
I am not going to sing it to you because it will sound ridiculous. My wife does the song, so
Okay.
it's around freaking delicious food time is what we call it.
All
So
right. Sounds good. Well, tell her, the world awaits to hear it.
yeah, I'll see if I can sneak a video. I'll just send it to you for a recap. She'd love that.
Her time in the spotlight awaits. Question three, I'll rephrase. I've done it a couple ways this time, but as a drummer, who do you endorse?
So I play pearl drums, Sabian cymbals, scorpion percussion for drumsticks.
Okay. So I'll
Oh,
segue that.
sorry, Evans drum heads. That's it.
Okay.
Sorry, I knew I was
Perfect.
forgetting one.
Perfect. I'll segue that into the dogs. So Dempsey and Bonneville, who would endorse them?
Kong toys.
Okay.
That would be a good one. Obviously, they love the farmer's dog food, so that's the other one. Yeah, but I think they're mostly into the toys.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That works. Question four is, do you have a dog voice?
Of course, I have a dog voice. Everybody has a dog voice. I'm not going to do it for you, but I do have
Okay.
one.
Can you describe it? Is it the cliche of just going high?
Oh,
Head voice?
it's high and it's baby talk. And if these kids just miraculously started talking one day, they would have a major speech impediment. That's
Well, that's funny. That's the B side of that question. If they did start talking, you've got a voice for them as well to personify them.
yeah.
Okay.
Bonneville's is real. He's real goofy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about Dempsey. My wife and I argue about what we think she would talk like. So
Well, Dempsey has such a beautiful face, so expressive. So yeah, it's that, well, I guess it's both, the boxer and the bust. They have just such funny expressions.
yeah, and now she's getting older, so she's got starting to turn really white, and so we call her sugar face. She's got
Yeah.
sugar.
Sweet girl.
Yep.
And last but not least, question five, I always ask if there's a dog organization or a service that you'd like to shout out.
Several actually. Yeah, we've done things with a couple different charities here in Oklahoma City. Second Chance is a really great one here. We also like to donate to Mutt Misfits here in Oklahoma City. They're a really
Okay.
cool organization. They take animals that most people wouldn't want if they have like a deformity or they've been in an accident, say if they're missing a nose or an ear or
Right, right.
something, where most people would give up on them. They go in and do whatever they can to save them. And I think that's amazing work. That takes a really strong person to be able to handle that. So
Yeah, that's a great one. That's great. Well, I'll look up their information and their websites and put it in the show notes so people can find them.
awesome. Cool, man.
Well, before we wrap, let's talk a little bit of music. Your new LP, Back to Life, is out May 23rd. But from what I gathered, the title seems appropriate. And I'm wondering, what was the spark that brought on this new energy, the band?
Honestly, it was the song Bring Me Back to Life. I think we had kind of decided that we weren't going to do new music anymore. We kind of felt like people just probably weren't going to be interested in it. They wanted to come to the shows and hear the hits. That's kind of how we felt. And, Marshall and I, we write together and we produce together outside of Hinder as well. So one day we were writing a song and we were kind of struggling, to come up with a concept of what we want, a lyrical concept of what we wanted the song to be. And he said, well, why don't we just write about that? Write a song about not having anything to say. And so that's the first line of the song is, I've got nothing left to say that I really want to put in a song. And so we just kind of ran with it. And we loved it. It was a reminder that we actually knew how to write songs and produce songs. So that was kind of the catalyst for the new record. We got so excited about that song that it became fun again. So we decided to jump in and go for it. And I'm very, very grateful that we did. It's gotten a really great reception, all the songs the singles that we put out up to this point. And I think from a songwriting standpoint, it's one of our strongest albums front to back. So I'm really, really excited for people to hear it and for them to give us the feedback. We want to hear what people think.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, you have some very cool shows coming up. You're going to play Louder Than Life in September. You're going to play Aftershock in October. Are there any bands or any friends you're excited to see?
Yeah, especially on the stage that we're playing. I think on both of those, actually, maybe. There are a lot of reunion shows happening on that same stage. And one of our good friends that we used to tour with back in the early days, it's called Rev Theory. They've been broken up for quite some time, and they're doing a reunion show for both festivals. We always loved that band. We formed really great friendships with those guys. We love them and we miss them. So we're really excited to see them play. But there are a handful of bands that are doing the same thing. Rock's making a comeback, especially it seems like bands from the late 90s and 2000s, 2010s even. They're all getting back together and kind of making a run of it. And it's fun to watch and it's exciting to see.
Yeah. Well, best of luck with Back to Life and everything this summer and beyond. And thanks for taking the time and talking dogs with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for doing it. This is a really, really cool concept. So I love that you're doing it. I think it's so cool. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Carl, you're a damn good dog.